Hey there, this is Nate English here with Gregory Kennedy, former pro and pro cycling superfan covering the Vuelta this year. And it's been a pretty fun race so far. Today looked like it was going to be some sort of a sprint stage. It was mostly flat, 185K. There were a few small climbs late or around 60 and 35K to go, or 45K to go, just a few bumps otherwise. But it was just enough to take Sam Bennett out of contention. He got dropped like 30K to go. So then it became clear that it was going to be a little bit of an uphill sprint between the contenders. Some people going for the stage, some people in the GC had to be up there. And Gregory, what went down? It was a
Yeah,
beautiful stage. It was going towards the coast. It was great scenery.
I mean the Volta is beautiful. Having the race take place on the north is really different than the south, right? It's usually dry and hot. Reminds me of like summer rides up Mount Diablo, but this year the landscape is a lot wetter and colder, but beautiful. I mean today's stage controversial, right? Like
Yeah. So
really
what happened?
exciting. You text me and were like, "Who's your pick?" I'm like, I looked at this profile and I'm like, that is a steep climb at the end. I was like, it's all Roglic, and like, hey, I'm gonna have to switch to a sports
Sports
betting
betting.
career because I was dead on with my pick, my pick again, right? A guy like Sam Bennett, it's just not his kind of stage, right?
Yeah.
Too steep. He's got the power, but he doesn't have the power to weight ratio to compete with those guys.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty good. It was surprising. Like, definitely there were some guys like Stybar who like could go for the stage, but is not in the GC. But mostly it looked like it was going to be GC contenders at the end. And it was like pretty dynamic. There was like people changing leads. Martin like attacked
Yeah,
with like maybe 600 to go and had a good attack, but then maybe like 300 to go, he got caught and it changed up a lot. But then the big news was Roglic crosses first. There's like 15, 20 riders kind of in that front cluster, but Carapaz got gassed just in the last 100 meters and finished somewhere around 15th or 20th. But there was a little bit of a gap between some of the riders. And so right after they finished, they showed like tentative results for the stage with a 3-second time gap, which would put Roglic and Carapaz tied for the lead. And Roglic would take the red jersey because he's won a few stages. But then they removed that afterwards. So I guess we're waiting to see what the final the final word is, but at least right now there's a little bit of tension. Like we're literally waiting for the results to be posted as a final result.
yeah, they had the tentative result, which still had Carapaz 3 seconds ahead of Roglic. So Roglic was given the 10-second time bonus for winning the stage, but they didn't seem to take into account that Carapaz was also 3 seconds back, right? Because we were both calculating this thing like, if you got 13 seconds, they should be tied. And we were even looking up the rules, what happens in the event of a tie, and they take in the tenth of a second
Then it
difference.
goes to the electoral college, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. The tenth of a second on time trials. There
Yeah,
hasn't been any time trials.
at least
So
not
then it
yet.
has
Yeah.
to go to placements, or I believe this happened on a stage of the Giro this year, right? They actually were tied. They did have to go back to the time trials and to the stage placements. So it might even be more thought out than our election system.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think anything would qualify as being more thoughtful than our elections.
I think they have all the different edge cases figured out, well documented. I can
Yeah.
find the PDF online.
I feel like regardless of how they call it, like it was a really small gap, but there was a gap in the finishing field. So it's like it looked like maybe a couple bike lengths. Obviously the camera angle, it's like hard to tell exactly because it's looking like down at the finish line. So you see them kind of front to back. But being in stage races over the years and like a lot of times seeing inconsistency in how they call time gaps in the finishings of each of the stages, it can be really frustrating because sometimes there'll be like 6, 7, 10 bike lengths like of a gap and they won't call a time gap. It'll be like same time for the first 100 riders, but there's like huge gaps, and then other times it's like there's 20 or 30 guys and then there's like 3 bike lengths and they'll call a time gap and you're like, wait, what? um, I feel like notably like in American racing, it's kind of different than European racing because they always have like a crit in every stage race. They always have at least one crit. And It's so frustrating being a GC rider who's not a good crit rider. Like over the years, I got better at it, and I'm sure other people have had this experience. But it's like if you're strong enough to be there and you're in like 30th or 40th spot, like ideally you'd want to be in the top 10. But those guys are really good and they're going for the win. Um, so it's like if you're in 30th spot, there's people with a lap to go who are murdering themselves to like chop your wheel going into a turn, like 5 or 6 turns to go, and then they'll sit up on the last lap and open up gaps. And it's like, why did you like chop my wheel and take risks with a lap to go to get up into like 40th spot? You have zero chance of getting any kind of result on this stage, and then sit up like 10 seconds later. Like that always would piss me off so much. Luckily, these guys don't have to deal with that nonsense. But it's kind of similar because it's like that small gap. It's like Roglic could have the lead or Carapaz could have the lead, and they called it for Roglic at first, but then they're like, oh no, we can't have this this stand for the final standing. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it looks like the subsequent call for Carapaz, they're probably going to leave it there because it was like the later, the later call. But I guess we'll see. But yeah, that would make it a very tight race either way. What do you think that's going to mean for the subsequent stages? Because like the stage today is done. It's only 3 seconds. Like even the time trial alone would sort that out, let alone the climbing stages. So what are you looking forward to next, Gregory?
Yeah. Well Nate, unlike you, I haven't participated in any stage races, but I have watched a lot of stage races. And I think that like the cycling gods are just not always on your, there he is. Bye.
He's excited. He really wants to go out and do some play.
The cycling gods are not always on your side, and like they seem to not be on Roglic's side this year. Like I think they should have tied it up and they made it really exciting. And it's hard to see like exactly what goes through the minds of the officials. A lot of these calls are arbitrary in as an observer, and it's always like not clear like what's going on. They're clearly not always applied. Even yeah. I think have some judgment involved too.
Yeah, I mean, they have clear rules, but it's just like how they make the calls sometimes.
Yeah, like who knows, like, right? Like I felt really bad for Alaphilippe. They took away that win for him in the Tour de France because he took a ball at the end. It just was like awful, right? But it was the rules. So this one's another one. Like it's up to their decision to decide to like give them that gap or not. It looks like.
This one's a close call. I feel like this one is maybe like, I don't know, it's contentious, but it's like not as big of a deal. Like I feel like taking away a win like that because of a bottle, it's like, I don't know, just fine the guy. Like give the team a heavy fine. I don't care, like €1,000. It doesn't like that sucks to take away a win for something that's really kind of trivial, But at least this one, it's like it won't matter at the end. It would be really surprising if it came down to 3 seconds because there's still the time trial. There's still multiple really tough climbing stages, so it won't matter. And Roglic got the win today, so it's like, I don't know, there's this like brief moment of controversy right this second, but in a couple days it won't matter,
Totally.
But yeah, this weekend is going to be big climbing days, each day on the weekend, rest day, time trial, and then the last week with next Saturday looking like a good one. But yeah, who's your pick for this weekend? There are 2 mountaintop finishes.
I mean, look, it doesn't seem to be any competition between the top contenders, right?
Yeah.
Roglic on his way back, he really wants to win. Wouldn't surprise me that he gets in a couple of wins this weekend, given the profile, and takes the red jersey back. Carapaz is still incredibly strong. I mean, Ineos was riding the whole way for him. I mean, I think like I was watching them and I'm just thinking like they are the best Grand Tour team ever. It's kind of like the quick step of Grand Tours. Like everything you can possibly do to optimize your approach, your training, your equipment, your team makeup, like they do it. Like they know how to win Grand Tours. And so they're doing a fantastic job at keeping Richard Carapaz up in the red jerseys, right? So you've got both of those teams. Dan Martin or some of these other interesting riders. I love Movistar. They're very exciting. They seem to have these like sparks of inspiration. Like maybe they'll shake things up a bit this weekend. But the Vuelta's clearly just come down to like the Ineos Jumbo competition.
Yeah. I feel like from the look of it, a couple times it appears as though Roglic is stronger than Carapaz. We'll see how it is, especially on these big climbing days. I feel like Martin could have a chance for a win. Somebody like Kuss could maybe go up there, possibly have a win. It's going to be interesting because I feel like so far it appears as the Movistar is really strong and they have 3 riders up there. I don't think that they could go for the win, but they have no choice, but I think to be aggressive. So I would expect this weekend or next weekend, like Friday, Saturday, for them to try to get somebody in the break like they did with Valverde. Because if there's not a lot of flat riding
Hey,
on those
new
stages.
information.
Yeah.
Update on the Vuelta website. Correction. Standings have been updated. Richard Carapaz, Ineos Grenadiers, finished 14th with a gap of 3 seconds on the line. They are both in the same time, but Primož Roglic is the new overall leader of La Vuelta.
Okay,
well,
cool.
There you
Fun.
go.
Yeah, that's pretty. I don't know. It's a fun moment of drama.
I'm
in the middle
excited.
Of the race. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like Movistar will be aggressive. Some outsider could win one or either of the stages this weekend. I guess we'll just see if Jumbo is strong enough to keep Roglic in the lead or if they make some errors, because he seems the strongest, but not quite a guaranteed win given like the strength of Ineos, like you say, and just, chaotic stuff can happen. There could be a 20-person break this weekend. They get a few minutes and they can't be brought back because there's no flat riding to like put teams on the front, We'll see. It'll be exciting. But he's the favorite for the win, but I'd give him like 50-50 odds to take it to the line.
He's got the power. I mean, the way that he finished that stage, like the move by Guillaume Martin was amazing. Like he came around the corner, cut everyone off, and like got this massive lead. It was beautiful, well executed, I think. And like if it was a little bit flatter, like even an uphill finish, but that one is really steep, he might have had the win. He just couldn't sustain it. And then Roglic like played it perfectly. He was patient. He waited to the very end, and then he just has the power to accelerate that like a Carapaz doesn't seem to contain, right? But it's not clear that that's what it takes to win a Grand Tour. I think that like the Ineos strategy of like making it hard, riding at the front, pushing their riders up to just get them across the finish line seems to work.
Yeah. It's also slightly interesting because there is an advantage to, like, it's not a ton of effort, but like Roglic clearly had to go hard to finish the stage today. And Carapaz, like, he was riding hard, like they were all riding hard, but maybe he was actually holding back because he's like, I just need to finish in the front group. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And then in this particular case, it worked out that he loses the jersey, which doesn't really change anything fundamental to the race. But optically, if Jumbo is in the lead, it's kind of up to them to like dictate the race and ride the front, supposedly. Like that's the tradition and like the conventional wisdom. So in some regards, it takes a little bit of pressure off of Ineos that they can just sit back and protect Carapaz and not take the front unless they want to or need to. But we'll see. I don't know. It's a fun race. That's one thing that's really fun about the Grand Tours. There's so many layers. It's like there's the sprinters, there's like the stage, like the people going for the stages, there's this GC, but then there's like multiple levels to the GC, like with Movistar, where they have like a rider up in the break who's in like the virtual lead, and then they have the person that was in the lead going into the stage, like back in the field. I don't know. It's fun. But yeah, I think that's it for today. We'll see some really epic climbing this weekend, and Sunday will be a big one. That's, I guess, probably the default Queen's stage after they had to avoid going into France earlier last weekend. But yeah, that's it. Any parting words?
No, been a great race so far, and I'm excited to see what happens this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Okay, we'll see you. Bye.
Bye.